YouTube, welcome back to another video on the channel. As you can tell from the title, I'm going to be teaching you guys the Caro-Kann, or one variation of the Caro-Kann. It's one of my favourite openings. It's very passive, very subtle, but you get a monster centre and a brilliant positional play. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you go on to enjoy this video, please be sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Without further ado, let's jump straight into this. So guys, the Caro-Kann can only be played after the move e4, okay? If they don't play e4, you can't play it, okay? If they play like d4, you can play a Slav, which is a similar position, but e4 is the only move, and you respond with c6. It looks a little strange, okay? Why are we not developing and playing e5, you know, taking back the centre? Well, in the Caro-Kann, we are actually taking back the centre, but we're doing it a bit slower than e5, okay? So you play c6 to prepare the move d5, okay? So they play d4 most commonly, and then you play this move d5. White has a couple of options here. They can play the advanced Caro-Kann, where they advance this pawn, pretty self-explanatory, and I'll just show a line of this. I recommend responding with c5 right away, just challenging in the centre, and White has a couple of options. They can just develop either knight, they could play like c3, just completely reinforcing. Most commonly I see this move knight c3, and then I recommend playing like knight c6. They'll bring their other knight out, you pin this knight to the queen, and it's very overwhelming. There are even ideas of taking this knight, and when the queen takes back, sort of just taking this pawn for free, kicking the knight away, but that's the advance. We're not jumping into that today, okay? We're jumping into the exchange variation where e takes on d5, okay? And then we get this move c takes on d5. So we have quite a symmetrical sort of position, but as you can see, like I said, we have both centre pawns. So in the Caro-Kann, you're getting a monster centre, and it's so easy to play, guys. It's so easy. After c takes on d5, they'll play like knight c3, challenging this pawn on d5. So you just respond with like knight c6. They'll bring their other knight out, and here there's a couple of moves you can play. Engine quite likes a6. It's a very not human looking move. The reason it likes that is because there's ideas for White of bringing the bishop to c6 and getting the knight on this e5 square and just sort of overwhelming this. So the engine likes to cut that out right away with this move a6, but I actually recommend putting the bishop on either f5 or g4. F5 if you like the open diagonal, g4 if you want to pin this knight to the queen. I quite like putting the bishop on g4, and the only move here for White to even equalise is this move h3. It's the only move that keeps the position equal. So if they don't find this, it's you already have like a very slight advantage. But when they do try and kick your bishop away, please don't run it back and get yourself into a position like this, because it's just so unpleasant. Like, this is just not a nice position to have if you're black. So please don't run away. Please just capture the knight, and the queen will obviously recapture. But then I know it looks like this pawn is hanging, but it actually isn't, because if you take, there's this move queen to d3, and when knight goes back, you can actually take and force this trade, where material is completely equal, position's completely equal, but it's not a very fun game. It's always sort of peters out into a draw. So please don't think that is just a free pawn, because they do have the move queen to d3. So here it's quite important to play like e6, opening up your dark square bishop, develop your knight, and now if they don't deal with this issue here with like sort of bishop to e3, then of course you can capture, because let's just say they played a move like this, for example. Well, then this pawn does hang, because after queen d3 and knight back to c6, they cannot take, clearly, because it's reinforced by the pawn. But it's very sort of clear what you want to be doing in the Caro-Kann. I mean, development's very simple. You get a monster centre. It's very clear where all your pieces want to go. You want to be pinning this knight. And after White sort of plays, I don't know, like their other bishop to d3, you sort of just want to be developing, get your king castled, and it's very pleasant. It's a bit of a slower game, but it makes for more methodical thinking, and if your opponent doesn't know the theory, they're going to struggle, especially out the opening. You can get a real significant advantage if they don't know the theory. And guys, in the game I'm going to show you, we get just that, okay? I don't do anything special, but I'm going to show you how to put this theory into practice, okay? So let's jump straight into a game I played the other night. Okay guys, so this is a game I played the other night. Obviously my opponent plays e4, because if they didn't, this wouldn't be in a Caro-Kann video, because I wouldn't be able to play the Caro-Kann. You guys are seeing how this works. e4, I play c6, and they don't play the move d4. Okay, that's why I thought I'd show you this game, just to show you a different sort of perspective, because your opponent isn't always going to play the best move in d4. It's only marginally better than this move knight to f3. So I thought it is important just to show you guys all the possibilities. So I do still play the Caro-Kann with this move d5, and then they play knight to c3. I play this move bishop to g4, pinning the knight. As you can see, these are all book moves, it's all theory. Important to note, you can actually take here, but I didn't really like the idea of takes and takes, because then I'd play like knight f6 and we'd probably get even more exchanges. Let's say they take and then I take. It's a very boring position. I don't like all the early exchanges, so I chose not to take, and I just played this move bishop to g4, pinning the knight. Similar idea to what I showed you guys earlier. They then take and I take back, so this is obviously a variation of the exchange variation. I think it's called like the Medino or something. I don't actually remember, but that's okay. They lash out with the move d4, which is the best move, trying to recapture the center. But notice again, guys, they don't have an e-pawn. I do have an e-pawn. That's going to come in very handy later on. I play the move knight to c6. We get bishop to e2, defending and breaking the pin on the queen. Knight f6. So you guys can see it's all just very basic developmental moves. There's really nothing special. They play the move h3, looking to kick my bishop back. But guys, what did I tell you? Please don't retreat. This would be an inaccuracy. Okay, it's given us a good move, but it's not a great move. Come back, I go here, and then they have this move knight to e5, and if I take, it's just so unpleasant. I mean, look at the eval bar. It's really not a fan, okay? So luckily we don't get this, and I do just take. When they take back, I have the move e6. Again, very important idea I showed you guys. They short castle, and then I play this move bishop to d6. So my bishop's on a very nice diagonal. There might be some ideas later on of me playing like bishop c7, queen d6, and setting up this gorgeous battery on this diagonal. But they play bishop g5, attacking the knight and also pinning it to my queen. So I just go ahead and short castle. Queen d2 is now played, and I actually retreat my bishop. Okay, I know I just put my bishop there, but sometimes it's just important to swallow your pride and go, you know what, I don't want this pinned. Okay, I don't like the idea of that. So I do bring my bishop back, and they play rook f to e1. We get knight to d7, which is my inaccuracy of the game, guys. I'm not perfect, okay, but my logic was that this bishop is very, very dangerous. I don't want to be playing against it, so I'm just looking to trade it off. Putting my knight here also means that maybe there's ideas of like e5 at some point, reinforced by both of the knights. But we'll see. So we get a trade of the bishops. I take back with the knight because this looks like a pretty gorgeous outpost, and it's given us the best move, so go me. My opponent plays rook to e3. I wasn't really sure on the idea of this at the time, because I sort of thought, well, you're kind of blocking your queen's diagonal, which doesn't look good. Maybe you're looking to double stack, but I'm not really seeing what's going on this file. But I play knight to f5, hitting the rook, so they just slide back. Queen to b6, just basically threatening multiple pawns, obviously with the knight as well, which is very nice. They play b3. What were they meant to play here? So I'm sort of doing my own sort of little analysis here. They were meant to play bishop to g4. Okay, but then I still just take, right? Oh wow, and it just wants them to go back. Wants them to retreat their rook. Okay, well, I'm not overly sure why that's better than what they did play. So they play this move b3. I take the pawn. They play knight to a4, which I was very unsure of. I think their idea was sort of danger levels, because I'm hitting their rook, so they probably thought, oh, if I hit the queen, they're not going to take my rook. But the important thing to note is I can actually take with check, so I still took this rook, because my opponent cannot take my queen, because they're in check. So always take note of that, guys. Look for if your opponent has any checks. And now I retreat my queen onto the c file, hitting the pawn on c2. Rook slides over, rook e8. They lash out with this pawn move. I just reinforce on this file. I didn't overly like the idea of exchanging here because of this move rook takes. And it's very difficult for me to keep this pawn defended because the knight defends this square, the bishop's of course on this diagonal, and the rook is absolutely smouldering me here. So I'd have to play like, I don't know, like queen e5, offering a queen trade. But then this pawn at the end of it isn't sitting too prettily. So I didn't take, I just reinforced. They played queen to d2. Again, I reinforce. Ooh, I wonder if... Okay, I played knight f6 because I now want to make this trade and open up my rook onto your queen. They play queen g5. I then take. They take back with the rook. Slide my queen over. They play bishop to d1. I take the rook. We make this trade. And then after queen to d4, it's not looking very pretty. I mean, I'm threatening your knight. So I guess the queen would have to come back. Would it go all the way back here? I guess you have queen b5. Could you play queen b5? Yeah, okay, that is a move, yep. But after like knight e4, I'm just there's so much going on. I'm threatening so much, and it's so impossible for you to defend. Like, what do you even do after this? What does the engine want actually? Engine wants, wow, h2, just giving up the pawn. That's crazy. But yeah, my opponent resigns after queen d4. The position's falling apart. You can't defend everything. There's so much going on. So they resign here, guys. And as you can see, I didn't do anything special. I mean, let me go over to the review and just show you guys. Let me just move my massive head out of the way. I'm just going to put myself here, why not? Just while I show you this review. So I played at a 93 accuracy. But I didn't do anything special. I mean, I'm only 1300. I'm not overly good at chess. But the moves are just so self-explanatory. It's so easy to play, guys. My opponent didn't necessarily play bad. I mean, 83.6 isn't a bad game at my level. But it's overwhelming. If you don't know the theory, you're not going to do very well. Out the opening, they did pretty well, I'm not going to lie. They played it pretty perfectly, which is why I thought I'd include this, because sometimes your opponent will play it perfectly, but you still are set up for such a great middle game. 99.3 opening accuracy, and then the middle game, 91.3. But again, guys, you saw, I didn't do anything special. There was no sneaky traps or any subtleties that were really nuanced and hard to understand. I mean, it was all so simple. It was really, really simple. And that's why I really recommend the Caro-Kann, guys. So if you did enjoy that video, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.